With that, I'd like to kick us off today and bring on our panelist. Mick has been with us for about 2 years. Highway Benefits has been a great partner for us at Cal Nonprofits. Um, I personally am someone who holds student debt, so this subject is something that's near and dear to me. And this benefit has been a real game changer for me and some of our other employees. So I'll turn it over to Mick and let him give you the lay of the land. But thanks for joining us, Mick, and we're always so happy to have you here.
Yeah, thanks for letting me crash this party. Cal Nonprofit, all of our clients are our favorite clients, so Cal Nonprofits right now is our favorite. But yes, I'm Mick. Nice to meet everyone here. The goal for today is for me to kind of high level give everyone some insight about, the student debt problem, how it affects nonprofit sector specifically, and then kind of walk into what we do at Highway. And if you do have any questions after this, given that Cal Nonprofits is a client, you can ask them what it's been like to work with us. But if you do have more interest afterwards and would like to talk more about potentially rolling out the benefit, you'll be able to, we'll share my contact info so you can reach out directly to me. So Robert, you want to go to the next one, the following, I guess. So what we do at Highway, we do a few things. But our general, mission or what we're trying to do is basically provide the best benefits that are the most accessible to all companies that are the most relevant that impact people's financial well-being. And specifically for today, the product we're going to focus on is tax-free student loan repayment. We do have other educational assistance programs that we can talk about later if you'd like to reach out again. But for the purposes of today, we are going to discuss tax-free student loan repayment. So very high level, brief history is the federal government made companies gave companies the ability to contribute money directly to their employees' student loans tax-free in 2020. So in essence, a company is able to contribute money directly to employees' loans. Every dollar that those companies contribute, up to a limit of $5,250 per employee per year, those contributions are actually tax-free income for employees, and companies don't pay any payroll taxes on those dollars. So when you think about compensating your employees, this is really, the punchiest compensation dollar you can provide someone if that employee has student loans. Robert, you want to go to the next one? Um, and more specifically, what it is and kind of how we help is because this benefit is tax-free, it does fall under, specific IRS code. And in order to roll the benefit out, you do need to be compliant with the IRS. And so that's where we step in. We basically make sure you're compliant. We help you develop your 127 plan, which establishes the rules and who qualifies. And then every month, we will automate the entire process from end to end to make sure that your employees receive extra contributions in their loan servicer and that you, the employer, basically don't have to do anything. So once you're onboarded, money is basically moved automatically every month from company to employees loan servicer seamlessly with nothing to worry about. You can go to the next one. So I think it's also important to kind of take a step back and look at the general student debt population, and then we can kind of jump more into specific nonprofit information. But at a very general level, there are about 45, 46 million people with student debt holding on average about 40-ish thousand dollars of student debt. So there's about 1.8-ish trillion dollars, correct, with a T out there. So this impacts on average about 1 in 3 workers. So think every 1 in 3 people that you work with has on average about $40,000 worth of student loan debt. Now, when we started our company over 6 years ago, the every undergrad would graduate. The kind of stats were every undergrad on average, about a third of them has student loan debt, and they have about 30-ish K of student loan debt. Last year's numbers are over 60% of undergrads graduate with student loan debt, and the average balance is over $40,000. So this problem is kind of growing at an exponential rate. Rob, you can go to the next slide. The nonprofit sector is, let's call it, worse is an aggressive term, but, more impacted by student loan debt. So Cal Nonprofits, as everyone should know or may not know, did a massive study last year regarding student debt and how it affects nonprofit sector. And as you can see, instead of 1 in 3 workers having debt, it's over 3/4 of employees have debt. And this is also, becoming a drain of extracting people from work that they would like to do, working in nonprofits, things they're passionate about, things that they've personally witnessed, to having to go on things that are more, higher paying, even if they may not like the company or the job specifically. So when you think about industries that are dramatically impacted, healthcare is one, obviously, that you could probably think of because it requires a graduate degree for so many of their roles. But nonprofit is like a very, very close second, potentially tied for first. We can go to the next one. So why is this benefit important? I'll state one more thing. So when our benefit became tax-free in 2020, the federal government gave us a 5-year provision, meaning the benefit is tax-free for 5 years. Now us and a coalition of others have spent the last 5 years petitioning basically the government to extend the benefit, and we were successful. So in the tax bill last year in July, our benefit was made permanent. So now going forward, the tax-free student loan repayment is in effect. And additionally, while the current limit is $5,250, every year in July, that number will get reassessed and increased according to inflation. So this benefit has more or less been given kind of the seal of approval from the government, more or less suggesting employers take advantage of it. And this is the essence of why this benefit is helpful and effective. Now, if you're an employee and you're going through a compensation conversation, or you're about to, get a job somewhere and you have your compensation discussion, if you were to increase your salary by $5,250, not only will your employer pay more because they'll be paying payroll taxes on those salary dollars, but you, the employee, will receive less because you will be not only payroll taxes, but state, federal income tax, Social Security taxes. So there's a huge delta of money that you're missing out on because you're not capitalizing on the most effective compensation dollars. Now, if you're an employee with student debt and your company offers this benefit, every single dollar that the company contributes will be received if it's applied to your student loan by that employee. There's no delta. There's no money missed. So this is kind of the heart of why this benefit is so awesome, for lack of a better term, is because it is the most punchy, powerful dollar that affects the most amount of people, specifically in the nonprofit space, and it is generally the most pointed financial issue in a lot of people's lives. So this is, just think, the most punchy kind of effective compensation dollar you can give an employee. Rob, do you want to go to the next one? So, again, if you'd like more detail, please do reach out. We work with a number of nonprofits, especially in the state of California. But the general flow of how Highway works is that, we like to kind of consult with you, learn a little bit about your organization. Are you having trouble attracting employees? Are you having more trouble kind of retaining your existing employees? Because no two plans are the same. Once we learn a little bit about your organization, we'll create your plan for you. We actually communicate and help you communicate the benefit internally so that your employees can then sign up for the benefit. It takes your employees about 3 minutes to connect their loans to our software. Once they're connected, they will be given a suite of tools where they can learn more about their debt. We provide things like payoff calculators, loan simulators. We have partnerships with refinancing organizations, so your employees can actually get cheaper rates on their student loans than they can otherwise get in the free market. And then on a monthly cadence, we will verify the eligibility and the rules of whatever your plans are. Maybe it's employees who have been there for a year get $100 a month. If you've been there for 2 years, you get $200 a month. Based on those rules, we will facilitate your money to them accordingly. So again, it's full service. It's kind of, once we're onboarded after a one-time call, Highway takes care of the rest. I want to go to the next. Just a little bit, I kind of touched on it, but your employees, again, will have access to our entire suite of tools. This is just showing you a high level detail of what it looks like. We're happy to walk through a demo at any time. If you want to go to the next one, you can see here, we do connect and we have built integrations with every loan servicer. So these are two of the larger ones, but this benefit is effective for any employee that has what's called a qualified education loan. So these are public loans, private loans, undergrad, grad school, as long as it's not, your grandma gave you some money and you're paying your grandma back, we are able to connect with your loan servicer and provide this benefit to them. I'm going to go to the next one. This is, again, just kind of highlighting how we work with your employees. A couple of things that I do want to highlight, or really one specifically, is that, I've said it before, but no two organizations are alike. Again, whether you're trying to attract employees, retain employees, we do allow you to create custom plans that are within accordance of Section 127. So sometimes it's, full-time workers get this much, part-time get this much, or you can do it based on tenure. That's why we like to consult with you and learn more about your organization. If you do want to do just, everyone gets $100 a month, that's great as well. But the point is there's no two plans are alike, no two organizations are alike. So we like to work with you and kind of find a solution that's best. Go to the next one. So pricing, the most important question for everyone. So we at Highway, we charge a one-time $1,000 implementation fee. All Cal nonprofit members are actually eligible to reduce that fee by half. And then we have a monthly fee of $200 per month. If you exceed 25 people using it, then it turns into $8 per participant per month. So, the majority of the spend of the benefits, similar if you have a 401k or something, is not the highway administration, it's what you contribute. And we want to keep it that way because the most important dollars are the ones you're actually giving your employees, not us. So I will pause there. That is the high level, and I'd welcome any questions.
Thanks, Mick. If there are folks that have questions, please feel free to drop them into the chat or the Q&A. I can speak to a little bit about our experience with Highway, just because we do have a little bit of time. So I'm an individual user on my end, and I can speak to the tools and the platform that Highway has rolled out. I've actually worked with several other different student loan companies and repayment companies while I've been at CalNonprofits. And Highway is not only the most reasonably priced, but Mick and their team are really well versed at understanding your organization and their specific needs. And particularly in the nonprofit sector, I think Highway has gone above and beyond to engage with us and be a real champion for our sector. I know that this tool, particularly when we survey our members that are using it and folks that are in the community that are using it, they find it to be one of the best ways to retain talent. And I think the slide that Mick showed about the delta in dollars in compensation is a really important one. And I see a question here in the chat, and I'll read it out. And it says, "Can you explain again the benefit to ER? Explain how the 5,250 works." And maybe I should back us up to that slide.
Sure, I can jump in there. I'm not.
Maybe you could elaborate on the question just a little bit,
or just the definition of ER. I'm assuming employee of record, but I just want to make sure. Yeah, I'll just start chatting, and then if you want to fill in what ER means. Yeah, so this is a great question. Employer, got it. So this is a great question because there are intricacies of how the benefit works. So, there are again, we like to consult with companies because there's things you can do, things you cannot do that are in compliance with IRS. So for the 5250 is the limit of tax-free money you're able to contribute to employees if you push money into their student loans. You do not need to hit that limit. So 5250 translates to $437 a month. So every month, the employees will receive whatever your plan states. So let's just, for simple purposes, we'll pretend you're maxing it out. Now, this money, you cannot actually, say to an employee, hey, you can either have an increased salary or you can take this benefit. That is not compliant. Benefit does, the spirit of the benefit basically suggests that you do have to offer the benefit to anyone with a student loan, which is why a lot of companies don't max the benefit out. The tax-free piece is every dollar that the employee receives up to that limit in their student loan through Highway is tax-free income. So it's not on a pay stub, it's not on a W-2. We do not go through payroll. And you, the employer, because we don't go through payroll, you do not pay any payroll taxes on those contributions. So when let's take a salary dollar, for instance, you pay $1 of salary to your employees, you actually pay your $1 plus, 36 cents. So you're paying more than $1. And then your employee, they get that dollar, they get their Social Security, state income tax, federal income tax out. So they're only receiving 37 cents. There's a big delta there. Through Highway, every dollar you contribute, they receive that entire dollar. You don't pay payroll taxes on the way out, and they don't get state, federal payroll income taxes on the way in. I hope that kind of makes sense. Think about it. Another way to think about it is like, a 401k dollar is a contribution that goes to their retirement savings. It's tax-free for you, the company. They get, when they're 65, they get to receive it tax-free. This is like a real-time opposite version of that, because instead of going to their assets, it's paying off their liabilities. But it's a similar context of that is a tax-free contribution dollar. All right. Do you administer employee tuition loan programs for qualified staff that are interested in pursuing grad school or a higher degree while employed? Yes. So our benefit actually falls under what's classified as Section 127 by the IRS. And originally in 1986, when tuition reimbursement was invented, which is, by the way, the 5250 number stems from the average cost of a year of college in 1986. So we're trying to change that number to keep up with modern times. In 2020, the federal government lumped our benefit into Section 127. So Section 127 includes both tuition reimbursement, meaning if employee goes to university, you're able to reimburse that employee with tax-free dollars. Or if that employee has gone to school and taken on loans, you can contribute to their loans with tax-free dollars. You are able to do that. And in fact, oftentimes more than 50% of our clients include both tuition reimbursement language and student loan repayment language in their 127 plan.
Thanks. That makes a lot of sense. I also want to acknowledge the work you've done, Mick, with 127 in working with the legislators and
Yeah.
the Senate.
Yeah, we've spent a lot of time pushing for this, and over the last 3 years specifically, to kind of make what we do a reality. Again, this benefit was supposed to expire January 1st of this year, and the limit was the limit. And our work, myself and some others in the education space, we pushed really hard. We made this bicameral and bipartisan. So we had Senator Warner, Senator Thune, Malliotakis, and Peters really pushing to get this language introduced, put it in the tax bill. It was in the tax bill and it got approved. So we're like extremely grateful and thankful that it is, yes, bipartisan, but also bicameral out of the gate, meaning there's a ton of support from Congress for this. But is that how it works? Usually if an employer pays $1, the employer receives less. The employer isn't paying $1 plus payroll taxes. The employee receives this. The employer isn't paying $1 plus payroll taxes. Correct. It's one minus payroll taxes.
Right.
Correct. So every dollar it is still an expense for the employer, but it is an expense that is wholly received by the employee, as opposed to the employer paying an expense plus extra expenses, and then the employee receiving less than both of those.
And
Oh, I'll
this
go to
question
chat here. I
is,
see there's a
is there
bunch.
a deductible expense to the employer, business expense?
Correct. Great question. Yes, our benefit, while it is an expense, it is classified as a qualified tax-free fringe benefit, is the name of it. And so you are able to deduct these contributions from your net income, which reduces your taxable income as a business. Great question.
And then
Uh,
what about, I see someone here who's asked um, about tax forms at the end of the year. So what does it look like for someone like me, an employee at the end of the year when I get a tax form?
so a couple things. One is this is tax-free income. The state of California actually does still uh, tax this. So it's one of two states that actually does tax it. So you do have to, at the end of the year, pay taxes on the state portion of your contributions received. But federally, this is untaxable. It is tax-free fringe benefit. So two things. One, the employee generally can just pull up their contributions, what you've seen within the portal. That's one thing, and you can download that and add it. And it's pretty straightforward from our end. We basically provide employees the ability to see all of their contributions monthly and in real time.
Yeah, I remember last year doing my taxes, and it was very seamless. I don't remember any issue or complication on my side.
When you don't remember it, that means we've built an okay product. That's what we like.
And then I guess this is the follow up. Will an employee still get a form 1098E?
That is up to the employee and how they
Right.
file their taxes specifically. But we do not provide those forms. We just provide you the ability to report to your tax filings.
And then there's one more question here. Has there been any legislative effort to align California code to the federal government to make it tax free? This is a good question.
Yes, um, we would love that.
Me too.
I forget the other state, but yes, we would love. So probably too much information, but basically, the state of California made their decision to do that before our benefit was made permanent. And so the California, there's actually very good intention by the state of California. So they didn't want to, change tax code and then have our benefit not be made permanent. But now, because our benefit is permanent, we are hopeful that the state of California will kind of go in line with federal rulings.
There's one more here. Let's see. Can this program work towards the lump sum required with the buyback program that loan borrowers will pay for the completion of PSLF? I'll give a little bit of background here about what this question is speaking to. So, for all of us that were enrolled in SAVE, right, for public service loan forgiveness during this administrative forbearance that lasted over a year. None of us received credit, right, for public service loan forgiveness during that time. So when you are close to reaching those 120 payments, and if that buyback period will get you to the 120 payments, you are eligible to buy back those months when you were in an administrative deferments because of the SAVE program and the lawsuit that was going on. But I'm not sure how we would attach this money to the buyback program. My assumption is it's probably entirely separate.
It's in the TBD state.
Okay.
So it is entirely separate. Yeah. There are a lot of things, as you're probably, you know, learning as I'm discussing these answers, that there is still a lot of TBD. And we wait on the Department of Labor and the Department of Education for clarity. But as everything becomes, more crystal clear, we do get basically near real in time information, whether it's from, what's the new increase in the limit going to be to how does this affect those using the SAVE plan.
Yeah, and Mick, that's another great attribute about highways. I've been really impressed with the information that you all push out. I think we were talking the other day. It's always I look forward to receiving both the notifications that there's been a contribution to my student debt, but also Mick and his team are really on the nose about what is going on in the world with not only this program, but student debt and public service loan forgiveness. So having a partner like Highway, who's both engaged in the advocacy side of this effort, as well as the business end, is really unique, I think. You guys sit in an interesting space, and I appreciate both the platform and program you're offering, but also your dedication to this topic. So I just want to acknowledge that, Mac.
Thanks. Yeah, no, we appreciate it. And they kind of go hand in hand. I guess as a high level, I don't know if I said this at the beginning. I am the CEO and founder of Highway Benefits. We've dedicated, the last basically 8 years of my life to building this organization and becoming ingrained with student debt and how companies can help play a massive role in solving this $1.8 trillion potential existential crisis. But that is a good point you bring up, Rob, is that we do have a belief that you as an organization, if you do work with Highway, you've made, you don't just talk about helping your employees, you actually walk the walk and you're doing something. And as such, every month when your employee gets a new loan payment, we want to make sure that they're thinking about their company, really caring about them. So they receive things like that. And it makes them, touching on that retention piece, it's like, wow, this company actually cares about me. They don't just have, a ping pong table in the lobby. They're actually understanding of my and my colleagues' problems, and they're taking action and helping us, create a better financial situation for ourselves.
Yeah, and I think also one thing that we found in this sector when we did our big research project and survey last year was really making this a subject that is less taboo to talk about and easier for folks to bring to the table and bring to their employer. I know that myself, when I started thinking about this and thinking about asking my employer to help me with my student debt, it was an uncomfortable conversation to have, right? And compensation negotiations and conversations about money and financial situations can often be uncomfortable. Um, but it's platforms like these and folks like Mick that I think make that conversation easy to understand. And they're really a partner for both the employer. I think that's also a good point to underscore. You all are really a partner for the employer and the employee. So you run both sides. And it looks like we've got a couple more questions if you want to speak to those.
Yeah, I see. Will the employee's credit be run for this, and will it appear as a loan on their credit report? The answer is no across the board. So think of this as just compensation. This is additional compensation that you are providing to your employee that is tax-free income for that employee. That's it. No credit, nothing. Again, they are connecting their loans to Highway. They're not opening a new loan. There's nothing new other than them having the delight of getting an extra $50, $100 a month directly into what is likely their largest, personal liability.
It's actually probably going to help your credit score as well. And I see another question. I assume we know it will apply towards regular and monthly student loan payments.
I assume we know to apply towards regular monthly student loan payments. Appreciate the clarity. So, this is that's a great question. That's like I'd call this more of like an advanced question. This means you like understand the benefit quite well and understand the loan system. So because everyone has a different, as long as I'm interpreting your question correctly, you're asking whether or not this can count as someone's monthly payment or whether or not this is an additional payment. We at Highway run our payments on the 10th of every month. So everyone has a different payment schedule. I also am a loan holder. Mine are due on the 18th for whatever reason. Some are due on the 20th, some are due on the 3rd. And because everyone has a different schedule, we run payments on the 10th. We are at the leisure of the loan servicers, who it can take up to 7 days for our payments to process. So when we work with you, we actually have communication and materials that explain to your employees they should not be relying on these payments to cover their monthly number. They are generally viewed as what we call principal only pay downs. So these contributions will help your employees basically get out of debt years faster and save tens of thousands of dollars of interest. But they should not be, waiting on these payments to cover their minimum monthlies.
Yeah, and if you're in a situation for like public service loan forgiveness, and you don't want to say you don't want to hit that cover that principal, you all helped me structure my payments in such a way that it decreased my monthly single payment towards PSLF, if that makes sense. Do you know what I mean? Do you hear if I'm
So as I mentioned, this is an advanced question. So when we do have questions like this, traditionally you've already like agreed to work with us and we're kind of consulting with you on creating that plan.
yeah,
Uh, so again, no two plans are the same. Everyone's scenario is different. And this is like what we love to do is get into the weeds of what you're trying to achieve.
that's great. All right, let's see. We've got another question from Hillary here. Do you have any recommendations about how to implement this benefit equitably for staff? This is a good question. Who do and don't have student loans. Would love to implement something like this, but not for everyone. But not everyone has student loans. And if we're giving pre-tax cash benefit to some staff but not others, I'm curious how that plays out.
Hillary, I was waiting for this question. Um, a couple things. One is, no benefits, none, not even insurance, are equitable across the board. That's one thing to just keep in your mind. So if and when you do want to roll this out, you should feel confident that you are doing a good thing because, again, no benefits are equitable across the board. Two, huge kudos to your employees who are not in student loan debt. They are already financially crushing it compared to their colleagues. So that's another thing. You can offer them if they would like to take out a loan, they can then have this benefit. Those are kind of just the keep to yourself portions of it. But more kind of actively, what you do is, again, as I mentioned, this benefit sits in Section 127. And this is why a lot of clients roll out both student loan repayment and tuition reimbursement. So it is the only this or that dollars you can use are you can say to an employee, we're rolling out Section 127. If you have student loans, you're able to contribute, we'll give you $100 a month to your loans. If you don't have loans, you're able to use your $100 a month towards continuing education. This could be as kind of broad or as narrow as you, the organization, choose. It can include anything from conferences or, like courses, product management courses, things like that. You are in control. So the way we generally recommend doing it is rolling out both and saying to your employees, hey, you can use the dollars for this or that. I will state on the tuition reimbursement side, adoption is generally like 3 to 5% usage.
Hmm.
Versus on the student loan side, we generally have 100% of eligible employees utilizing the benefit.
Interesting. Yeah, we have folks using it both ways here at CalNonprofits. All right. Do we have any other questions? We've covered a lot of ground, and like Mick said, it really this no two plans are alike. So the best thing to do, and this goes for a lot of conversations around student debt and public service loan forgiveness because everyone's situation is so unique. Please feel free to reach out to us at Cal Nonprofits and also Mick and have a conversation with them. They're very easy to work with. I always get a quick response back, and Mick can really lay out the different options in a way that's easy to understand for both you as an employer, but also for your employee. And I think being able to do that is really helpful because it's two different conversations entirely.
Yeah, no, I'll just say, thanks for having me here today. I appreciate the time. You guys have been a great advocate for what we do and a great customer for us. I'm glad we've been able to help you guys out over the last couple of years. If anyone does have questions, again, like this is my life is student loans. So I probably have an answer to some question you have. We'd love to speak. We'd love to help roll this powerful benefit out to you, especially now that every month more and more loans are resuming for people.
Right.
A lot of these income-driven repayment plans are kind of going away. So you likely have some employees who either have just recently been re-impacted or are soon to be more impacted by student debt, and we can definitely help everyone out.
That's great. Thanks so much for joining us, Mick. And thanks everyone else, attendees and registrants, for joining and adding your voices to the chat and Q&A. It's always important for us to hear what you're experiencing in the field. So thanks again, Mick. We're always happy to have you on. Look forward to seeing you in the future, and hope everyone has a great afternoon. Take care and be well.